Yeah.
Hey, hello, good afternoon to everybody. I hope I'm audible and I can see all of you. Hello, hi.
So all they are new entrants to the CA course.
Okay, okay,
So
all right.
basically गर्व और ऋतिक के बैच से हैं ये सब लोग.
हाँ हाँ. All right. Great. So, Bhupender ji, should we wait for more people to join or can we start?
I think another 5 minutes. Then
Sure.
what I will do is that I will share a prayer
हाँ हाँ.
and after that we can start.
Okay, sure, sure. We can
We
wait.
generally start this class with a prayer.
No, that's a very good idea. Every time I talk to you, Bhupender ji, I learn something new. So today I'm learning about the prayer.
It's basically mutual learning. Which we all
Mutual
need.
learning, right, right, right.
एक बार बता. So Rupam and other team members are also there.
Abhinav is there, and a couple of other team members have joined. Rupam is there, but she is actually also working on an urgent deliverable today. Yeah.
So you will be also live on our CA student Saturday class lecture.
Oh, really? Okay, okay. That's great to know.
नमो का मैं ना जब प्रेयर शेयर करूंगा ना तो शायद उसके लिए मैं फिर एक बार इसको हटा दूंगा क्योंकि वो प्रेयर शेयर होती है तो आवाज नहीं आती तो फिर वापस तुम्हें उसको लगाना पड़ेगा. वो तो तू बाद में हटा देना मतलब वो उसको तू चालू क्यों करता. मैं कह रहा हूँ तो मतलब जब ये कैमरे से अटैच होती है ना तो वो वॉइस नहीं करती है तो मैं इसको हटाऊंगा और फिर मैं प्रेजेंट करूंगा फिर उसके बाद फिर कैमरे को वापस लगा के यहाँ पे जो भी मैं अभी एक बार हटाऊंगा. ये मेरा स्क्रीन शेयर हो गया क्या? अच्छा
हाँ सर, screen is visible sir.
संसार हो अति
उच्चतम जीवन बने परमार्थमय व्यवहार हो, ना हम रहे अपने लिए, हमको सभी से गर्व है। गुरुदेव ये आशीष दे जो सोचने का फर्ज है। हम हो पुजारी तत्व के, गुरुदेव के आदेश के, सच प्रेम के नित नेम के, सधर्म के सत्कर्म के, ऊंची है झूठी राह की, अन्याय के अभिमान की, सेवा कर को दास की, परवाह नहीं हो जान की। छूटे न हो हम बुद्धि से, हो विश्वमय से ईश्वर को राम में और कृष्ण में, जगदेव में जगदीश में, हर इंद्रियों पर ताप कर हम वीर हो अति वीर हो। उज्ज्वल रहे सर से सदा, निज धर्म रत खंबीर हो। अति शुद्ध हो आचार से, तन मन हमारा सर्वदा, आध्यात्म की शक्ति हमें पल दिन करके जुदा। इस अमर आत्मा में हर श्वास भर में दम रहे, गर मौत भी आ गई, सुख दुख हमसे सम रहे।
लगा तो इसको वहां से वॉइस देखने वॉइस आ रहा है। तो 1 मिनट शशिकांत जी।
हाँ हाँ भूपेंद्र जी, आराम से।
1 minute. I am just setting up some technical.
Sure, no problem.
Yeah. So we are just starting in another seconds. So good afternoon all. Good afternoon all participants also. So today we have our guest speaker Shashikant Khemani ji over here, and since you can say that now he is no more a guest speaker because of the way we are actually working with each other, and in fact our team is also there. So he is part of as good as Kalani and affiliates itself. Shashikant ji is a chartered accountant, qualified in the year 1999, and since then he has worked with various industries and the companies like Tata Consultancy Services, PwC, as well as other multinational companies. And his main area of work is basically financial planning and analysis, digitization of financial planning and analysis, as well as group reportings. So these are his area of practice, where he is working in the name of IOCFO Consulting Private Limited, and has a good setup of team at Pune as well as Bhopal. So, since today he is the subject expert, I will not be commenting much on the today's subject. But yes, I will keep on asking certain queries from Shashikantji, and I also request participants, and particularly those participants who have recently given their exams, CA final exams, to please ask on various queries from Shashikantji as and when you feel any doubt is there with reference to whatever he's speaking about, and uh, just follow that. You should raise your hands if you are online, as well as if you are there in the conference room. You can just communicate it to me, and then you can raise your query with reference to the talk delivered by to be delivered by Shashikantji. And I also welcome other team members of IOCFO. Abhinav Lachure is also there today with us. He is also chartered accountant and worked with Shashikantji on various projects related to the group reporting as well as financial planning and analysis. And I personally, when met Mr. Abhinav, the way he speaks and way he's explained, particularly his communication skills, which I observed during 2 days meeting with him for when I was at Pune, is really commendable. And I'm sure that both Shashikantji and Abhinav will, their talk will be beneficial for we all. So with this, over to you, Shashikant.
Thank you, Bhupendraji. And I first of all, it has been our really, I would say we are privileged to be associated with Kalani and affiliates. And as usual, you are extra kind with our introductions. But let me tell you, just to manage the expectations of the team, let me tell all of you that I am just a normal chartered accountant who, instead of getting into the complex subjects like IFRS, Indes, finance, I chose to the simpler thing like how to use technology for finance profession, right? So in short, I did my CA in '99 as Bhupendraji explained. And then for 5 years, I was a financial controller in a manufacturing company. And then since 2004 onwards, which is roughly about 18 years, I'm working on SAP-based solutions in the area of financial planning and analysis, which we also call FP&A, as well as financial reporting, which is mainly the reports towards the external organizations like annual report, quarterly results, consolidated financial statements, and so on. So this is the area I have been working on. I have worked in many different countries and have learned certain things in each of the countries. So, but before we start, I mean, I have been an article, and trust me, guys, like this Saturday afternoon sessions are really heavy. So I really want to hear from all of you, how is the Josh? Bhupendraji, can you open the mics? I really want to hear, like, how is the Josh? Because Saturday evenings are not, afternoons are not really a good time for a something new or something which requires attention. So are they? I mean, are they able to speak up, or I mean, are the mics muted? How is that?
Yeah, they all are able to speak up. So
I think that Josh is really low. Looks like. Let me ask again. How is the Josh? Okay, great. That gives me some motivation to talk, because what is also very true, Bhupendraji, I hope you would not disagree with me, that one generation has gone by between the time which you and I did CA and the current generation. And the current generation is like, if we are Nokia, they are iPhone. They are much more smarter, much more intelligent. So I wouldn't be surprised that one of them gets up and says that, boss, tell us something which we do not know. Okay, I wouldn't be surprised.
I would rather disagree with you because it is not one generation which has gone. For me, this is 7 generations.
7 generations, right?
Every 3 years, we have a new generation.
New generation of chartered accountants. You are very true. Right. All right.
7 generations have gone.
Yes. 7 generation of CAs. Yes. Yeah. All right. So cool. Now, before we start, right, like I said, I mean, pretty much all of you are very well aware of the what's going on in the industry, what's going on in the finance field. So I want to hear some of you, like, what's your perception about what are the trends over last 20 years in finance function or finance profession? Anything like, what is a trend? What are the different things you believe have changed over last 20 years as far as finance function is concerned or this profession is concerned? Some ideas like, see, nothing is right or wrong here. It's just like perception. So
I would ask Lakshya. Lakshya, are you there?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, Lakshya.
Sir, as per me,
yes, please.
As per me, sir, use of technology is very means play a bigger role in today's life.
All right.
Like 20 years
so one
back,
thing
no
which
one
has changed is technology. Very good. Right. What else, Lakshya?
Also, like the economic, you can say, like politics, economics, all these aspects have changed from 20 years back to today. Like globalization is evolving. India is not a like it's a developing country, but it's very fast growing economy. So all these aspects are also concerned with the financial aspect.
Extremely good. Extremely good. Very good. How about others?
Yeah, Karthik Kastiwal. You are raising hands. Yes, Karthik. Are you able to speak? Please unmute yourself. Probably he is not able to speak. So he is raising hands. कार्तिक आप अनम्यूट करें या So there seems to be some technical issue with him because he is not able to speak. So anyone else?
Okay, no issues. So one thing which came out was technology. Okay. Bhupendraji, I didn't tell at the beginning that, first 5 people who answer will get, a surprise gift. So far, Lakshya is one. The 4 slots are still open. I still have 4 things lying with me. It's an open secret now.
So Saloni.
Sir, basically, first of all, a very good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Sir, it was not just for the gift, basically. Actually, sir, there has been a drastic change in the law. Like Companies Act has been changed and GST law has been introduced, and the complexity of transactions is increased also.
All right. So basically, the compliance part has become complex. Can I say that? Like, because when we talk about law, mainly compliance and also in your accounting or in your technology backbone, the taxation part has become more complex and more compliance have come into the picture. Right, Saloni?
Correct.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. All right. Good. So I think anybody else, or can we move on?
Yeah, I
Right.
think
So
we can move on.
yeah, right. So I think I mean, as I had said at the beginning, the audience is quite knowledgeable. So let's say we, in general, as far as finance and especially the technology is concerned, as part of finance, if you see over a period, when people said someone like 30 years back that that guy works in finance, more or less people thought he's an accountant, maybe manager accounts or head of accounting department and so on. So that was like maybe 30 to 40 years back. Then something came up that is like digital accounting, and other softwares came into the picture like Excel, wherein the traditional processes didn't change much, but they were digitized. Okay, for example, Tally came into the picture, or when Tally came into the picture in India, around the same time SAP came into the picture. Yes,
Shashikant ji, have you shared your presentation also? Yeah, you have to share.
I have shared. I mean, okay,
I think you need to share it again because
1 second, man. Let me share it again. Sorry. So my bad. Is it visible now?
yes, sir, it is visible.
Okay. आ रहा है ना अभी स्क्रीन पे?
Yeah, we are able to see.
Okay. Okay. 1 second. There is some issue still. So. All right. Okay. So what I was trying to tell you is that maybe 30 years back or 35 years back, when someone says that he or she is working in finance, it was more or less understood that they are writing books. Okay. Then the next step was uh, the traditional method of or traditional role of a finance or accounting professional was converted into, it was digitized. So that's when Excel came into the picture, or before Excel, Lotus Notes came into the picture. In India, like in 90s, Tally came into the picture, and around the globe, at other places like Europe and US, SAP and other softwares like SAP came into the picture. All right. So that was second step towards evolution where we are today. The next step was that people thought, okay, accounting is accounting, but to support decision making, they need something called a business intelligence, what we also call a MIS in normal terminology. So some softwares came into the picture whom we call BI softwares, right? So people started preparing their MIS through system. And then again, there was, after a few years, people realized that this business intelligence or whatever we call is still more about the post-mortem which has already happened. All right. It is all about past. It doesn't let you plan your future. It doesn't tell you what's your balance sheet going to look like at the end of March 2023. Right. At the best, it said what happened, what is the reason of what happened in March 2022. Right. Why did our profitability went down, or things like that. So then another breed of tools, technology, softwares came into the picture, which let you do your financial forecasting, budgeting, planning also through software. Right now, we are more or less at this pace. However, what is happening is now again we are in the transition phase, I would say, wherein like instead of a lot of manual processes, now artificial intelligence and machine learning is coming into the picture more specifically in our context, which is finance. So if you talk about financial reporting per se or accounting per se, the latest trend I would say is AI and ML, right? Now, one example could be like we did a project for you know, a retail company, you know, a chain of retail stores. So when I used to do such projects 15 years back, we would provide kind of an input form to the client where they can enter product-wise sales, so store-wise product-wise sales, and then they can calculate their total sales for next financial year. But nowadays, you just feed last 5 years data to the system, and based on that algorithm which is there in the system would tell you like this product is likely to sell this much quantity in the month of April, this much quantity around Diwali, and so on. And then that's how people can take more scientific decision. They can prepare more scientific forecast, planning, budget, and so on. Right. So this is kind of a trend line more from technology perspective. But of course, technology is not the only thing which has changed, right? As the technology is changing, there are undercurrents. There are certain other things trending. And what are those other things? One is the risk is increasing day by day, right? And compliance, laws, different kinds of taxation, this is increasing. And another thing which is increasing is the amount of data which we have to handle. You know, ultimately, the financial reporting or finance is a summarization of the underlying business data. And the volume of data which is increasing is phenomenal. I mean, nobody imagined. So I'll just give you one example. Like in late 90s, when Microsoft launched their new version of PC, like personal computer, that was, I believe, with 40 GB hard disk and maybe 128 MB RAM. And at that point in time, Bill Gates said that this thing, if one buys this can last for 25 years. So I don't know the exact configuration, but this was a statement from Bill Gates that it can last for so many years. Nowadays, our mobile has a RAM of like 8 GB, 16 GB, and so on. So just imagine the increase in data. Okay. So this is all about technology and the role of a finance professional. Talking about risks, see, earlier we said, okay, there is a business risk, then there are like legal risks. But if you look at now, because everything is digitized and the volume of data is so high, there is so much connectivity across the globe for any business. Like you are doing a business, but now because of the globalization, every business is connected with so many different locations. Businesses are also now connected to their suppliers, their vendors, their customers. So there is a huge risk of data. There is a huge risk of fraud. There is a huge risk of currency. There is a huge risk of the business risk has always been there. And there is a compliance risk. There is a legal risk. So the risk itself has come out as a very specific function or a process as part of finance, number one. Number two, compliance, as we know, like Bhupendraji, when you and I were doing articleship, how many deadlines were there in a year? Maybe 3 or 4, Bhupendraji?
I think probably the only deadline was related to the filing of tax returns.
Tax
That
returns,
too,
right?
Yeah. And
So-
then there are certain compliances related to company audit. So
Company audit, right? So
I
maybe
think-
let's say one for ROC return, another for tax audit return. But if you see now, like when we visit our clients, when we talk to them, like they are so, sometimes we feel that they are overburdened with compliance. Every month there is some or other deadline. So that compliance, the number of compliances and the complexity and the changing legal environment, the political risk, which is actually ultimately turns out to be some kind of change in the law, a new government, a new law, or a new tax regime comes into the picture. So point is, the finance function has to evolve also to handle compliances, right? That's a very big factor. And the third is, of course, data. Like when I started my career in analytics, 2004, the largest client would have like some millions of data records, right? But now what has happened is, with increasing space, memory, and big data, and with so much of unstructured data, social media data, what people are talking, this, that, ultimately all the data is consumed to come up with a meaningful analytics, which can be KPIs and so on. Someone is saying something, I believe. Sorry.
No, you continue, sir.
Okay. So point is, the trend, to summarize, the trends in finance are: one, in technology, which are displayed here. Number two, also the expectations or the role a finance manager can play. That is again reflected here, like from just mere accounting to analyzing, and then also performance management, and then also using AI. And then side by side, the risk, compliance, and data are also emerging trends. All right. Does anybody has any question here or something to add or correct? You are welcome. All right. So there are so many factors which determine the trend in finance. Or we will not be focusing on everything. Our focus will be more towards like the technology side, how best we can leverage the technology to stay with the trend. Because in every function, whatever we do, it's very important to stay with the trend, right? Otherwise, as a professional, we will perish. And none of us wants to perish, I'm sure. So first thing, let's say when things are dynamic, when there are emerging trends, then it also impacts how a finance function or how the maturity of a finance function is perceived. It is evaluated by the internal stakeholders within an organization, and also the outside stakeholders, like investors or stock exchange or analysts, and so on. I'm sure you would know, when a potential buyer wants to acquire a company, they also evaluate the maturity of their functions. Like they also, in addition to their numbers, right? Okay, fine. They may come up with a valuation based on their balance sheet or their forecasts and so on. But one of the very important factors in determining valuation of a company is the maturity of their processes, and finance is one of the key process. All right. So how do we? What this emergence? How has this changed over a period from various aspects, like from the aspects of people, data, and processes. So from people aspect, the traditional FP&A would be limited FP&A skills, most focus on manual data collation and reporting, and huge teams. They will have like, let's say, as the company grew in the past, people will say, okay, now our company is growing, so instead of 10 people in accounts, I need 15 because I need to cope up with the volume, right? However, nowadays you cannot sustain with that kind of proportional increase in manpower. It is totally unsustainable. So this was traditional FP&A. In near future, what happens is functional level FP&A skills, like you not only you need to know like debit and credit, or how to prepare a balance sheet, how to prepare your cash flow. You should also be able to figure out like if the net result of a company is 10% lower than that, then which product, which business unit, which market segment, which country, which region uh, didn't do well. And moreover, you should be go and tell your management that instead of investing your capital in this particular product segment, country, or city, it's better to invest in this. Let's say if you are in a finance function of an automobile company, you are going, I mean, it is your duty to go and tell that looking at the trends and looking at the numbers, uh, it is the next plant we put up should be in EV, or we should phase out diesel and so on. Okay, so that has become more and more a prerequisite of a finance function. uh, Merely being good in accounting is no more uh, accepted. Then the like digital finance, like I said, you should be able to use the tools available to you to identify the trends, and to I would say a little bit of data science to understand where things are heading to, and identify the trends earlier on, like leading indicators, and support the top management with decision making. So this is the trend in terms of people. In terms of data, like we have already spoke about earlier, it was mostly Excel or ERP based. Now it needed a lot of people to analyze those Excel sheets floating here and there. But now with BI based, there is a common repository of data, and there are common reports, and there are slicing and dicing which you can do on the data. And the latest is, of course, ability to handle big data, data on cloud, real-time data, in the sense no more the the industry or the people or the top management board of directors, they no more have time that okay, fine, I will download the data, put it into some Excel, and then I'll prepare some charts for your reporting. Or even when a month end is happening, even for accounting, people wouldn't wait for to collect data from all different factory locations and finally prepare a balance sheet. More or less, when you go for audit, I think the management would expect that as and when an adjustment journal is posted, they want to see that impact on trial balance and balance sheet on the immediately, and then take decision during the closing of financials. Then the third thing is in terms of processes, like there was lack of standardization. Why there was lack of standardization? Because when there are no tools available, everybody, it's like Indian roads, right? Everybody has their own lane because there's no lane discipline. So similarly, when there are no proper systems in place, uh, someone is classifying certain in management reporting especially, there are different assumptions being made, and when finally a number comes out, it's not reliable. So I'll give you an example of a client recently. It's a pharma company. They are going for implementation of FP&A solution. So I asked their CEO, like, what's the main pain point why you are, investing so much money into a software. You could have done this through Excel. I mean, I just asked it deliberately that you could have done it through Excel. Then he said, see, we have 110 business units. All right, 110 different SBUs, what they call, and they all prepare their MIS P&L or management P&L through Excel, and then we consolidate. It is working fine, no problem. But the issue is nobody knows what is there in that Excel. What do they do plus minus in Excel? Nobody has any idea, and it's difficult to rely on those numbers. So that's why we need standardization, right? Then, so in terms of evaluation of process, there was lack of standardization. Then we moved to standardized processes using systems, and for each function, not only finance, operations, procurement, HR, manufacturing, and so on. Then the trend came into preparing what if analysis using some, I would say, still Excel-like softwares or BI softwares. And people are moving from a fixed frame of budget. Like we say, typically budgets are prepared before beginning of the financial year and they are frozen. So that is kind of a fixed frame annual budget. From that, people are moving to rolling forecast. So rolling forecast means every time a month ends, you again forecast for next 12 months because things might have changed. So that is more dynamic, and this is more latest. So from a fixed frame of budgeting and planning, people are moving towards rolling forecast. And then with the third stage where we are at the moment is like you have standardized global practices and uses of AI, ML more and more to come up with more scientific numbers and to use the latest technology in your financial reporting. Okay, so this is the impact of the emergence which we saw in previous slide on people, data, and processes. Any questions? Is it too boring, guys? You can just, you can share your feedback as well as if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Bhupender ji, if I am too fast or too slow, please
No,
let me know.
I think you are reasonably maintaining your speed. Lakshay, you have any query?
Yes, sir. I have a question, sir.
Please go ahead.
Sir, this is regarding practical aspect of FP&A. Actually, there are many tools and softwares.
You will not get the second gift.
Okay, sir.
No, but Lakshay,
Sure.
yeah, you can still try.
Yes, sir. Actually, sir, there are many tools and softwares available for FP&A, as you already said, like Excel in limited aspect or Power BI.
Right.
In your opinion, what are like some other softwares or tools that a person should know or have in-depth knowledge about, which will help him in FP&A? Any specific names?
Okay. So it's a good question. And I think partly it will already be answered when we go through the next slides. However, let me try to answer that. See, there are okay, let me go back a few steps. If you look at this, right, as I said, this talks about emergence of technology as well as the role of finance, correct? So now, if you broadly categorize the technology part in four parts, one is accounting, second is BI, third is FP&A solutions, and fourth is AI. All right. Now, pretty much all the topmost software vendors in the world, which are especially if you talk from enterprise perspective. Okay, there are different softwares. There are so many software companies. But from enterprise perspective, in the sense from business perspective, so you talk about SAP, you talk about Oracle, you talk about Microsoft. All of them have softwares catering to all these 4 different verticals: accounting, BI, FP&A, as well as AIML. Okay, so like our company specializes on SAP softwares. So later in the presentation, I'll talk you through about some of the SAP softwares available to cater to FP&A or BI. But there are counterparts available in Oracle also, in Microsoft as well. So to talk about, like, Oracle has got Hyperion. Okay, Hyperion HFM Financial Management. Then IBM has got Cognos TM1, right? Microsoft has like Dynamics or something like that. So they all have this kind of softwares, like Power BI. You gave an example, correct? So it's like car. You have BMW also, your Mercedes, you have Audi, right? They all are good. So I wouldn't say just because we work on SAP, I wouldn't say others are not good, but they are more or less similar. Okay, so there are not 1 or 2 or 3 softwares to name. There are quite a few, but Cognos, Hyperion, and SAP's BPC and SAC. These are like some of the widely used softwares from top ERP vendors. Then recently there is something called Anaplan. Okay, it has come up as an independent company, and they only cater to FP&A and artificial intelligence software. They are not into core accounting and so on. Does this answer your question?
Yes, sir. Cleared, sir. Thank you so much.
But after having gone through this presentation, if you have more specific questions around the softwares available, we can surely talk about that. Okay,
sir. Thank you.
Right. So again, this is about, like I said, any function where we are, it is like fashion. In fashion, people have to stay with the trend. Similarly, we are in finance profession, right? So we have to stay with the trend. And this slide talks about what are the changes happening to people, process, and data, right? And on the basis of that, the world will kind of judge us whether we are with the trend or not. Then it's more or less the same thing, right? So I wouldn't spend much time here. But yes, like real-time transactions with limited or very limited manual effort and around business decision making, and then proactive. These 4 are, I would say, themes of how do you evaluate the maturity of a finance function. One is capability to handle real-time transactions. Second is minimal manual effort. Okay. Third is aligned towards more, rather than accounting, which is postmortem, more aligned towards business analytics. And third one is perceiving the future now and taking proactive action. So these are 4 parameters to determine the maturity of a finance function as of today. Okay. To talk, let's say I'm talking about manual effort. To give you a simple example, even in softwares like Zoho, right? Once you finalize your payroll, you can directly, by click of a button, that payment can directly happen from your bank account. So these are, the effort is to reduce the manual effort more and more, correct? Similarly, in accounting softwares, like smaller softwares, I'm not talking about bigger ERP softwares like SAP and Oracle, even in Tally and Zoho, especially in Zoho, I hear that you can directly file your TDS return directly from Zoho. You can file your GST return. You can make payments. You can pull in your bank statement directly from your bank to the software, and some of the accounting entries can be automated as well, right? So that is what we need to constantly think and see how can we eliminate the double effort or manual efforts. All right, fine. Talking specifically about data, you see, like we touched upon this point earlier, but this is the trend for nearly last 17, 18 years. And you can see the data volumes in zettabyte here. It's a very, very sharp trend. And it is going to stay like this because of this digital economy, the push for digital economy, cryptocurrency, everything is being digitized. So it's going to stay like this. It's not going to change, at least for another 20 years. The speed of digitization or the increase in the data volumes is going to stay like this. Right. So, Lakshya, maybe you are going to like this. Before we discuss this, let me emphasize that there are so many trends, as we saw, like there are trends in compliance, risk, there are trends in data volumes, and then the technology, and also the role of a finance professional. Now, because of the limitation of time, we are not going to focus on everything. The focus on today's presentation is now going to be like more towards FP&A and financial reporting. What are the solutions available? How do these solutions help the finance function in industry generally? All right. So bear in mind, because we work on SAP, our company works in SAP, so we are more familiar with SAP-based solutions. But the other vendors have similar solutions available. These are not the only solution available in the market. However, SAP is quite popular, and especially for those clients who are using their ERP, SAP's ERP, it makes more and more sense to use SAP's own products in the space of FP&A, financial reporting, and so on. All right. So let's say this space, which we loosely call FP&A, financial reporting, and so on. Sometimes we use the words interchangeably. We can categorize them into like 6, 7 different categories. So first area is financial consolidation, which is preparation of consolidated financial statements. All right. And the second one is disclosures, right? So when we normally in normal context, when we say preparation of consolidated financial statements, we think, okay, 4 financial statements like your balance sheet, income statement, statement of changes in equity and cash flow, plus certain notes to accounts. But actually, if you think logically, the NTAs, the notes to accounts, are actually much more than your trial balance, and and these disclosures keep on increasing. Like that's also a trend. Like the number of disclosures which you are supposed to have in your financials, they are ever increasing, right? And they have so much information nowadays, which you can't simply take out from trial balance. So there are separate softwares just to manage the disclosures as part of your financial statements. Then there are FP&A, which is financial planning and analytics, which you can call MIS. Is also like there are SAP softwares, which is called BPC, but business planning and consolidation. Then another SAP software called SAC, which stands for SAP Analytics on Cloud. So this is called SAP Analytics on Cloud, means this solution is only available on cloud. It's not available on premise. So then there are also softwares available to analyze the profitability. Because, like I said earlier, to support business analytics or to support decision making for business, analyzing the profitability is a subject in itself. All right. Uh, so then there are specialized softwares available to analyze the profitability. Uh, then there are risk and compliance. So because the risk is one thing which is increasing, so there are also softwares available to to control the risk as much as possible. Then there are treasuries become a big subject because of globalized business, currency fluctuations, and multiple locations, multiple bank accounts. So there are softwares available and which are called treasury. I would maybe talk a little more about each one of these. But before that, I would like to ask who in the team or who in the audience has worked on consolidating financial statements for a sizable company.
Yeah, anyone who has worked with recent or PSU client on consolidation, Vikas Parikh. प्रतीक आप अनम्यूट करेंगे एक बार अपने आप को? Yeah. So anyone who has worked on consolidation? मुझे नाम ध्यान नहीं आ रहा अभी. Who was the team part of the team of ONGC?
Okay. Let's say aside from having work experience, like I would like to know from the team,
So
what are the potential challenges? Yeah. Sorry, Bhupendraji, please go on.
So basically, you are right. From the point of view of say consolidation, if they are small size companies, so that's okay. It can be actually maintained or the Excel files and all that. But suppose it's a company having operations outside India, and say there are around 25 subsidiary companies which are there outside India, then 25 within India, or there is a multinational corporate having its headquarter in say US or Singapore. So all these companies may have so many intercompany transactions with them, and apart from that, each of the company may have a different functional currency. So it may sound very difficult if someone manages the entire consolidation on Excel. That is what I perceive it. In fact.
Right. Yeah, Bhupendra, you have highlighted a very crucial challenge in terms of consolidating a very large global organization. So managing different currencies is definitely one of the biggest challenges. Apart from that, I would just, even though they have not worked on consolidation, but I'm sure they have fair bit of idea how consolidation happens. So can anybody bring out some more challenges? Like if they have to do through Excel, what all challenges can they face?
So there might be possibility that accounting policies followed by companies are different. So
Very good. Yeah.
there will
Let's say,
also be a problem.
Let's say, talking about a globalized company, there may be a company in India following India's, one company in Singapore is following Singapore IFRS, and then the company in US might be following US GAAP. So that's a very good point. What else?
So maybe period is
Yeah, change of accounting year is again a challenge.
Yeah, the financial year may be different, and it is actually different in many cases because the countries which follow Indian financial year are very less. Maybe I can't imagine any other country than India following April to March, and I think our finance minister is talking about having January to December as a financial year. So that's also a challenge. Yes. What else?
I think one more challenge someone was speaking.
Okay,
was about
someone is speaking. Yeah, Bhupender ji, please go on.
Yeah, Kapil.
Kapil. Yeah, Kapil. Please enlighten us. What are the
Yes, sir.
challenges?
Sir,
Yes, please, Kapil.
hello.
Yes, Kapil.
Yeah, Kapil, we are hearing you.
Kapil.
कपिल हम सुन रहे हैं तुम्हें. So till Kapil come back, Shashikant ji, please.
Okay, sure. So no problem. So I think three very important challenges came out. One is currency, another is financial year, third is accounting policies might be different. Very good, excellent. So I think yes. So this provides you a glimpse of different softwares available in SAP stable to cater to different aspects of a finance function nowadays. Number one. Number two, I personally feel that when I started my articleship in 1996, and then at that point in time, it was considered that we should know Tally because Tally is the future. All right. So what I personally feel is what was Tally back in those days has become these softwares nowadays. I mean, to be a good finance professional or to be a good accountant, I think people are supposed to know the latest breed of software. Tally is like done and dusted. I mean, it has become a common thing. Without Tally, you cannot work. So it's not a nice to have. It's not optional anymore, right? Knowing an ERP is not optional anymore. You have to know an ERP because there are no manual accounting. You have to know it, right? But what is now has become more important and what gives a finance professional an edge is a proficiency with using this modern softwares based on modern technology, based on the latest need from finance department. Okay? There's pretty much there is a solution for everything. We should just know how to use it. All right. So can I move to next slide? Right. So this is kind of a list. We will now talking specifically from FP&A perspective, then we will also come to consolidation. Okay. So what are the challenges in FP&A? All right. Does everybody understand the clear meaning of FP&A? Is there anybody who doesn't really understand what does this mean, FP&A? I'm sure there's nobody. But even if there is someone, please ask.
Shashikant ji, I think Kapil has joined us back. So Kapil,
Okay.
you speak again.
Yeah, Kapil, you were saying something.
Hello.
Yes, Kapil, please go on.
Hello.
Yes, Kapil.
Sir, just a challenge I was highlighting that we were considering the point from Indian point of view only. We have to report in different countries, and different countries do have their different reporting requirements.
Localized or local gap requirements, right? Country specific requirements.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's again.
Yes, sir. Yes.
It's a fantastic input as well, and it actually is one of a very important challenge because what happens is when you have a software for financial reporting, although these consolidation softwares are mainly meant for preparation of consolidated financial data, CFS. But when people have software like this, they also want to leverage it for their localized reporting, standalone reporting. Okay. And that's a genuine need. And many of our clients ask that, and that too, we have to cater from the software. Very good input, Kapil.
Yeah, sir. In fact, from Kapil's input, what I could also gather, I could also thought about, like say for this year, there are a lot of challenges in reporting for Schedule 3
Uh-huh.
because a lot of changes which are there in the disclosure requirement. And suppose a particular company is going to prepare its consolidated financial statements, wherein they are having foreign companies also as subsidiary companies. So, if those foreign companies do not report, say, aging analysis of their trade receivables, aging analysis of trade payables, because in those countries, those requirements are not there to report. So again, a challenge is there for the Indian company for preparing their consolidated financial statements, particularly with reference to all these disclosures.
Right. True. True.
These are again various regulatory disclosures which are there.
Right. So that's why the software solutions for disclosure management, they provide a lot of flexibility in the sense that, let's say, the organization has total 50 subsidiaries. Some of them are on same ERP, some of them are not on ERP, they are on Tally maybe. So you can also combine data from ERP as well as from Excel in the disclosure management softwares, because not everything can be converted to a system. Not because the requirements keep on changing. You cannot keep on modifying your SAP or other ERP to accommodate all those qualitative information. They are not really like part of your trial balance. They are all qualitative information as part of your notes to accounts. So that's where the solutions like this also come into the picture.
So yes, we have one query from the participants here. Yes.
Yes. So, not a query, just to add up on the consolidated. Sir, like there is also problem like if your company's accounts are getting consolidated in another country, like for example Italy. So the language problem is also there that Italian has to be converted into Indian language, and then we have to publish it on the according to our Companies Act, Chapter 9 accounts of companies, we have to publish that Italian consolidated converted into English language. So this is also a problem as the Italian language, some words get converted into English, which might mean a little different that what it meant in Italian. So it could change the meaning of the financial statements, consolidated financial statements.
Excellent, excellent. Multilingual financial statements. Right?
In fact, last year we have done one of the consolidation consulting assignment for one Canadian-based schools. So they were having there lot of companies, and particularly we have seen that in Morocco, the financial statements were there in their own language and not in the English. So in fact, we have used certain software which translate the language of Morocco into the English, and then we have converted those financials. So yes,
right,
I think.
Right. Yeah. So this very good input and very good point. Actually, this multilingual reporting
So sir,
is
your next prize will go to Varun.
Okay, for sure. Totally agreed. So what I want to say here is this multilingual reporting is a really challenging thing. Why? Because these are the things which cannot be simply literally translated, right? Your account headers or the commentary in report. You cannot simply use a Google translation and translate and do it. No, it doesn't work like that, because the financial terminology is different from normal language conversion. And fortunately, to a large extent, the tool or the software, for example, if you are talking about consolidation softwares, they support multiple languages. So first of all, the software itself, when you log into the software, it lets you choose your language. So everything what you see in one language can also be seen in most of the common languages of the world. Like maybe SAP softwares are probably in 20 different languages. So operating the software, you can use different languages. That's number one. Number two, when we prepare our reports, over there also we can give a functionality to choose the language. So about 2-3 years back, we worked for a client in Vietnam, and Vietnam is a country where like their own language is used pretty much for everything they can do, even like higher education in their language, and the country is trying to learn English, but still most of the work happen in Vietnamese language. Most of the senior executive CEOs and CFOs, they look at their reports in Vietnamese. So we enabled their reporting in both the languages, English as well as Vietnamese. So that thing can be handled. All right. So yeah, very good input. So moving on to like we will do slightly double or triple click on FP&A consolidation. Consolidation first. So what are those? The moment we approach any client or the promoters of any client that okay fine, probably you should implement a software. Then they will say why? Why should I invest so much amount or so much money in a software? I mean, we can do through Excel. Then we discuss with them, and quite a few challenges come out. So what are those challenges when it comes to FP&A? So first is, see, what typically happens is when your things are when you do not have proper systems in place, and every month you want to do a MIS, but by the time you download the data from 5 different systems, collect it, refresh it, and then apply all those calculations, that, it is already 10th or 12th of the month. And then, half of the month is already gone. What it means is more time is taken in preparing the reports, and because of that, less time is left for analysis. So that's one of the very key challenges. The things are so fast nowadays. Everybody wants faster reporting so that they can spend more time to discuss and take corrective action, right? Imagine you are doing your MIS every month, and the MIS for May is reaching to the top management on 12th or 15th of the July or the June month. Then they would say, fine, now what should I do? Half of the month is gone. Let's wait for June to end, then they'll see what to do. Then next month, new month, old story, and it goes on. So that's why that's one challenge. You need a faster turnaround for your function. Then standardization, right? Like one of our clients was saying that there are 10 analysts in the finance team to prepare the MIS, and they have in total 11 different versions of how reporting should be done. So I mean, it's when there's no standardization, people will do what they want. Also, the example I gave about the pharma company with 110 SBUs, and one of the key decisions, the key reasons why the CEO decided to implement a software, he said, like the 110 SBUs, and they prepare, we consolidate, we don't know which one is going to Excel, which cell, modifying what. Okay? So standardization can only be ensured when there is a common repository of data. That data resides in a common database, as well as the reports are not standalone Excels. The reports are created on a system. Then the other problem which happens is, like, see, there are different departments in a company: finance team, production team, marketing team, sales team, HR team. Like, but because there is no central system, they all work in silos. Like, they all have a different idea about where the company is heading to. So let's say, imagine a company wherein the marketing team plans that we will have 30% increase in our sales, but finance team, they do not have any plan to increase the working capital, or they do not have any plan to set up a new production facility, or nobody's controlling the sales, that which product should be sold, how much, where is the maximum contribution margin, and so on. So unless you have a centralized system, departments work in silos, ultimately the organization is not able to optimize their revenue and their bottom line. The other challenge is there are different systems and different kind of data sitting at different places. To compile that is a challenge. Then, of course, when things are lying here and there on Excel, they are printed reports, the information might be leaked, and especially for listed company, the information is very, very market sensitive. I'm not sure how many of you have watched that movie, Scam 1992, about Harshad Mehta, and wherein he used to go and outside a manufacturing company and used to ask the supervisor or the labor, how is the production quantity increasing or decreasing. So see, all this information is very market sensitive. So unless in an authorization and security control system, there is a high risk of your information leaking out to the market. The traditional system do not support decision making. I mean, they support with preparing reports, MIS, tables, this, that, but they don't really give you very good insight into the future trend. How is it likely to be? Okay, if we apply time series, this is where we are supposed to land up. If we apply, let's say, other techniques like, let's say, statistical regression, then this is where our organization is heading to. The traditional systems do not support that, and finance function, the management expects that from finance. Okay. Then the other is lack of audit trail. Like audit trail is, if you are finally coming out with a number, the system should tell you what all iterations, what all changes have gone into that number. Okay. Then if you want to simulate, if you want to create scenarios like best case scenario, worst scenario, optimistic scenario, or if you want to iterate based on new postings being made into your ERP, thus that whole things take a lot of time. Imagine you are around closing the month and the management asked to prepare a variance analysis, but because the month is still not closed in your ERP, every time there are new entries coming there, then every time you need to download the data, put in an Excel, and then again refresh your report. So that whole is 50% of the time goes into downloading and refreshing itself. So that's a sheer waste of time. Then also the traditional reporting is, people do not accept a tabular reports these days. People want visualization. People want dashboard. They don't want talking about retail. I gave you an example of Shopper Stop where we worked. There are 100,000, 1 lakh SKUs, and there is a targeted sales per month and there is actual sales month. They don't want to go through the list of 1 lakh SKUs and see target versus actual target. They just want to know, okay, tell me where my target is off more than by 10%. Just give me a summary. Highlight that in red so that I can quickly see that. So now the top management wants to see that kind of reporting. Okay. And the others is, of course, collaboration, in the sense you can't be always sending emails, share drive. You need a way to communicate through the system, maybe sending notification when someone, if let's say I'm a finance manager and I'm reporting to the CFO, Bhupendraji, once I'm prepared with my report, I should not be sending that by email. I should just say saved and submitted. I press a button, then Bhupendraji gets a notification that, okay, Shashikant has submitted a report to him. There is a link, he can go there and check that report. Okay, so that is the way to collaborate. Rather than I send an email, then it will take 5 minutes to go. Then there are already 50 emails unread in Bhupendraji's mailbox. And by the time he reads it, my report has already changed. So that's a vicious loop, right? We can't be just relying on that. So we need a better way to collaborate. These are
So basically,
the key challenges. Yes.
so basically, what I could understand it is more about business and not about how to maintain the books of accounts as well as reporting perspective. So it's more about business.
Yeah, Bhupender. So, like as I had highlighted, see, accounting was traditionally it was more towards just accounting and compliance, but now finance function has to support the business. Like it has become a part of business. Without finance, business will not work. So, like, how do we support business? Is we providing them enough insights which they can use to take good decisions, whether it's de- deciding a product mix, choosing a customer, or choosing even a new business line, or making capex decisions. Those all can come out if the finance function is able to feed the business with right kind of data. It has become extremely important.
So what I could further think of is that presently when a chartered accountant is being engaged by the corporates, uh, particularly in financial reporting, they are looked at more as a cost center. But if suppose someone is working as a FP&A professionals and address these challenges, maybe that the FP&A professionals are considered as profit center. Can you say
Definitely,
that?
we can say that, because why I would tell you that one single advice from a good FP&A person can save crores of rupees for the company, right? As we see, when we study strategic finance, we all even in CA course we study, right, how to apparently a product which is profitable may not actually be profitable. And there is a classic case of a large IT company of India around 15 years back. They they left then everybody was kind of very surprised in the industry that such a big US client is left by this IT company. So what they said is, on the face it looks profitable, all right? But when you apply the modern methods of costing, for example, ABC costing, activity based costing, how much time that particular client is consuming from your sales team, from your finance team, from your CEO's office, from your so many different departments, then actually it is loss making, right? Who supports the management with such big decisions? It's the FP&A team, because they can really get to the details of how profitable each product, each client is. Now see, I think to over here there was this component called profitability analysis. Now people may think that, oh, I mean, isme kya hai? I mean, we know what's the selling price, we know what's the cost. So why is it so difficult? It is difficult because there are so many costs which are not direct. Okay. Now, to give you an example, Tata Motors, right? Now, a company like Tata Motors, I can imagine they have huge costs which are like overheads for their HR function, their corporate functions, their finance team, their CEO's office, their huge cost, right? On what basis will you allocate that cost to each vehicle they come out with? How much will you allocate on Nano? How much will you allocate on Jaguar? Now, traditionally, people will say, okay, uh, uh, let's say if the total revenue is X and the total expense to be allocated is Y, so that Y is 10% of X, like total common expense is 10% of revenue. So from each product's price, we will charge 10% as overhead. Okay. But then this is very unscientific, because that's where you are actually punishing products which are commanding higher value in the market or higher profit. This thing is a very tricky thing, analyzing the profitability, and there has to be some scientific methods to come up with product or department or segment or country level profitability. And that's where that is the expectation from a modern finance team now, Upendraji. If I could answer your question.
Yeah, I think you well explained that how a finance professional can help.
Right.
So,
Yeah. It's like, see, people, if I go and tell I'm a very good accountant, you give me, I know all the accounting standards. I also know how to prepare group financials. So the the potential employer or potential client would say, so what? There are so many people we have. They say, can you help us grow our company, save cost, increase the profitability, increase revenue? How can you help us? So that's where I think there is a role we can play. Chartered accountants are, I think, no more accountants anymore. They have sufficient caliber as well as knowledge to work more towards business side as compared to the traditional functions is they did. That's the summary of what I want to say. I mean, that's my opinion. I mean, someone can challenge it for sure. Okay, so moving to, so one is like, so we know the challenges, right? And we also know the tools available. We'll just give you a brief walkthrough because of the time we can't go into very detail, but we'll give you a brief walkthrough of, like, let's say if we have to use SAP's BPC, Business Planning and Consolidation softwares, to implement FP&A process. There is kind of a case study of an FMCG company. Okay? So wherein what happens is, first, their sales planning is set up through system. So to have sales plan, like it can be done by channel, and there may be drivers which may be applied. For example, let's say each product segment or each business unit may grow at a different rate. So we can set up system in such a way that you consider growth rate over past, or we can also set up system in such a way that there is an overall market size. Then you say what's going to be your market share, and then you come up with your revenue per product category and so on. Understand? So all this, when I say through system, this same setup can be done through system, wherein you tell the system that this is going to be the overall market size, and I expect my market share to be 20%. So then system should be able to tell you your own product wise sales forecast based on this information. We just set up the rules in the system. And what does the system provide? System provides as a platform, or the kind of tools or screens, I would say, which are required to build in this logic. Understand? So to draw an analogy, let's say if I want to have like interior done at my home, I would buy wood, plywood, mica, tools, and hardware, and so on. So system is that. Then we consultants are the carpenters who would set up all this in the system, will build the required logic, the calculations, the screens, wherein someone, let's say screen wherein someone can enter the market size, and the logic wherein someone can multiply that, wherein someone can multiply that growth factor to last year's sales, which is already existing in the system, and throw up the sales forecast. Understand? So, I mean, we would probably wouldn't spend too much time talking about the process. I'm just trying to help you to understand the role of system as well as the role of consultants who configure the system, people like us. So sales planning is done. Then, for every plan, there has to be some assumptions, as I said, like how much will be discount, how much are the various categories of discount. Then there is quantity and price assumptions. Then it gives you gross sales. Then you have your other variable like temporary and permanent price reductions, discounts, and so on. It gives you per customer, per SKU, the sales. Then you deduct your taxation or this, that. Then it gives you net sales revenue. Similarly, there is production planning, like in the sense how many units needs to be produced. Bear in mind that sales plan is different and production plan is different, because to sales plan you need to, like I said, no, the planning cannot exist in silo. So based on the sales plan, the organization has to prepare like what would be the inventory plan, right? If I say I'm going to sell 10,000 units in the month of August, but that doesn't mean I'll be producing 10,000 units, because I have some opening inventory, I have some closing inventory, and also there is a delivery period, right? I'm going to sell in August, partly I need to produce that in July. There are various factors. So the sales plan has to be converted to the production plan.
That if we see certain corporates who are based out at Ludhiana, and if they are into, say, sale of these woolens,
Yes.
so maybe that are planning their production now.
Yes, yes, that's seasonal. Yes.
Because of
Yeah,
that
very
also.
good. Yes, yes.
Planning,
So, yeah.
production as well as
Seasonality is also a very big factor. And so the point is, things are not as simple that you have sales plan, fine, you have your production plan. No, there is a whole lot of science involved in this. And to enable this, then again, there are software-based functionality which can help you convert a sales plan to a production plan. Once that is done, then you have your other costs like your plan of headcount, how many people are likely to be there, and then what is the average CTC per band, per position, per grade, and that can give them the overall staff cost plan. And then similarly, there is gross margin planning. Then there is Opex. Opex means overheads, like all those your traveling expenses, your electricity, your security, your rent, etc. So that also needs to be planned. So system doesn't plan. It gives you the like a method to plan. If the method is input, system gives you screens. If there are calculation involved, system gives you the logic, a place to build that logic. And then let's say if something for which we can use AI, system gives you the programs using which you can apply predictive forecasting, time series, and so on. All right. Similarly, for Capex planning, people can have their Capex plan, how much Capex they want to make per department, per location, and so on. So, like I said, if I have to have a Capex plan, let's say I want to add a machine in the month of September for 10 crore rupees. So the system has the intelligence that if you add up a machine in your fixed assets in the month of September, then the rate of depreciation of machine is 10%. So then system will automatically calculate the depreciation also and have in your planned P&L. So that is what That is how we build the system. You get it? So otherwise, what happens in an Excel is you first plan acquisition of an asset, then you need to manually go and calculate depreciation, and then you need to include that depreciation in your P&L. All those things are, everything is working in silos, and it leaves a lot of scope for mistakes. Something can be left out, something can be wrongly calculated, and so on. These are some of the sample reports which you can get from the system. Like let's say in an FMCG company, it gives you product-wise budgeted revenue, quantity, sales price, actual revenue, actual quantity. Then it can, you know, as we study in variance analysis, you can get volume impact, impact of price, and the overall impact on your revenue. So you can get that through system. Then in fact, the entire P&L, division-based P&L also, you can get budget, actual variance, and the achievement percentage. You can have your cash flow, again, budget and actual, collections from customers, payment to suppliers, wages, Opex, finance cost, Capex spend, payment of GST, what was the budget, what was actual. Uh, Bhupender ji and I were having a discussion with Tejwani ji, and he shared his experience with clients wherein, because they cannot plan for their cash flow properly. Like sometimes there is huge amount of cash lying in bank account and earning nothing. So if we can use technology for have a better plan of our cash flow, that itself can result into significant savings for the organization. The other reports, like these are actually a snapshot from the report from the system. It can show you some kind of trend line here, as you see in Excel. And so net, we saw what are the challenges. We saw a simple process which can be achieved through system. How does it help the organizations? It actually pretty much, it's the reverse of what are the challenges. The reporting can be periodic, then it can be real time, or it can be trigger based reporting, then manual. You can build in checks and balances in the reports, minimal manual intervention, optimize usage of resources, people, and other resources. And you can do multiple iterations, simulations in with very less time, because everything is connected. You don't need to do so much of downloading, uploading, refresh here and there. So that's how it helps. Any questions related to FP&A section which we talked about? Okay. So similarly for financial consolidation, we already talked about some of the challenges which are there. So to go through the challenges, one is frequent changes in organizational structure, because companies keep on doing M&A. So they acquired a new subsidiary, now they need to change their reporting, or they have an associate, or they disposed of a subsidiary, or there is a merger or demerger and so on. So with that, this preparation of consolidated financial statements is more and more complex, time-taking, error-prone. So that's one thing. Second is someone mentioned about accounting standards or policies. So again, they in one country, for example, last 3-4 years, we have seen how India is being implemented in India, right? So to comply with that, also we need support from the technology wherein different methods can be accommodated, and we can set up the rules. Then it can be utilized for all different companies within the organizations. People like us, when we implement solutions for consolidation, we already know what are the India's requirements from the perspective of consolidation. So when we go and talk to the clients, we already tell them these are the changes you need to do in your cash flow. These are the changes you need to do in your goodwill amortization, for example. And then the system is already compliant with the reporting requirements. The third is lack of audit trail. When you are actually preparing your consolidated financials in Excel, you don't really know which data is actually the baseline data which you downloaded from ERP. Where have you posted your intercompany eliminations? Where have you posted your investment elimination? Where are the places where some top side adjustments by the management are posted? Because there's no trail. Everything is in Excel. You go, anybody can go to an Excel cell, do some plus and minus, and tally the balance sheet and move on. That's a challenge. Then iterations take a lot of time. So during the month end, entries are still being posted. You want to prepare, then you prepare one set of financial statements. You take it to the board of directors. They say, no, we want this change, that change. So those iterations take a lot of time and multiple gaps. So handling one gap itself is tricky. Then if there are multiple gaps, one company, one subsidiary on US GAAP, another company in India, a third company sitting in Australia following Australian GAAP, that is a challenge as well. Currency translation, because different kinds of rules need to be applied to different type of account codes. Some of them, for most of the balance sheet items, we need closing rates. For P&L, we need average rates. Some items may be classified or translated on historical rates. So keeping a track of all this is also tricky. There are no maker-checker controls, right? Maker-checker in the sense one person does the change, another person reviews, and then it becomes part of your report. So that's again a challenge. Then intercompany eliminations, there may be group of companies where huge number of transactions or intercompany transactions are taking place. So tracking all those transactions, eliminating from both the sides is actually can be challenged. In our study, theoretical, we study that, okay, one group company has accounts receivable, another has accounts payable, so we can eliminate both of them. But in real life, when thousands of transactions taking place every day, tracking all those intercompany transactions is not as easy as it looks in our books. Then there has to be standardization. Common rules have to be applied in wherever the companies are following a common accounting standard. So if you, what happens is, let's say there is an Indian company, they have, we actually did a project for an Indian company, I don't want to disclose the name, but they had 10 Indian subsidiaries and then 5 foreign subsidiaries. What we figured is that even for those 10 subsidiaries, there were 3 or 4 different accountants. So they all were following different rates for conversion, the different rules for accounting for investments and in cash flow. Someone was for lease accounting, someone was following some rule for cash flow, someone was following something else. When we highlighted to their CFO, they were quite shocked. So when it is through system, standardization is much more easier because system follows one rule. You change the entity, generate the same report. That's all. Then information security, of course, is a challenge. We hear in news day in, day out that X company's results were leaked, there was insider trading, and so on. So that's a challenge. And then customized report in the sense when clients publish their quarterly results or an annual report, they expect that it has to be near print ready so that they don't need to do so much of data massaging or do VLOOKUPs here and there, prepare their financials. So the expectation is that from the system itself, it can come out as if it can be printed. And then collaboration, as more and more people, more locations, more countries, different languages, collaborating with different people is a challenge. Like the example which someone gave about, Bhupendraji, you talked about Italian. Now imagine, like there is an Indian company, they have a subsidiary in Italy. So how will you collaborate? All the times you cannot send them email or call them up on the phone. it's so difficult. So through system itself, if there are workflows and the information flows from here and there can be even a workflow, and there can be even comments functionality in the system, wherein people can put their comment and send it to someone else. So it's like you put a comment in Excel, but the comment is actually saved in the database. Okay, so those features are there. These are the challenges in consolidation. So now we, for challenges, we try to map them, each challenge with the potential solution which the software like SAP BPC provides. So for example, change in organization structure. The software lets you prepare a tree-like structure, and the tree-like structure, like you just need to add an entity and then it gets added to your org structure. Then in this, there you can actually maintain multiple ledgers for different kind of accounting standards your company or is using. Let's say there can be one ledger for Ind AS, another ledger can be for US GAAP. So that way you can tackle multiple gaps, and to tackle one particular gap itself, right? As and when there is a change in the accounting requirements or policy as per Ind AS or IFRS, you just need to tweak the configuration. Then your reporting can be aligned to the new requirement. Lack of audit trail. The system provides, basically system flags each kind of change in data differently. So for example, the data which is baseline data, trial balance loaded from an ERP to consolidation system, that will have a different identifier. The journals which you post inside consolidation system, they have a different identifier. The calculations which system makes, for example, currency translation, they have a different identifier. So that way, there is a complete audit trail of all the changes which are happening to the data. Iterations, of course, because like you don't need to download data from anywhere. The data automatically flows from ERP to consolidation. That iteration time is reduced by a very large extent. And compliance with multiple gaps we discussed, you can either create different accounting standards, ledgers, or different even versions of reporting, and that way you can cater to multiple reporting. Then currency translation, the system provides a rule-based setup wherein you can say all P&L accounts will use average rate, then all balance sheet accounts will use closing rate, and you can have, for example, talking about month of May 2022, the closing rate for May 22 could be different. The average rate for the same month can be different. That's how different rates can be applied. Intercompany maker-checker balances, maker-checker controls exist in the system. So let's say if you are posting a journal, one person can only save the journal, but it will not be posted, and another person will have authorization to post it. So that's how we can have maker-checker concept. Then intercompany eliminations in system, you just provide the system, feed the system with the information about the logic of elimination. Let's say you can tell the system, I need to eliminate AR and AP. These two account codes are having intercompany AR, and this another 2 or 3 account codes have intercompany accounts payable. So you just pick up these 2 account codes and eliminate intercompany transactions. So that's how it can be automated. Standardization, yes, because like that is a very good advantage of the system, because every rule, every mapping, every report, it doesn't exist on anybody's laptop. It exists on a server. So it is standardized. Everybody has to use common logic, common reports. You can compile data from different systems, because these systems can talk to one second. The systems can connect to different systems. To give you an example, let's say your company is on SAP, right? Tomorrow you acquire another company, and that may have Oracle, right? So you cannot overnight shift from Oracle to SAP. It's a very costly and painful exercise. So you need a capability wherein your consolidation system can talk to many different systems and bring in the trial balance. Information security, of course, there are like it is the data which you see is based on the access which you have. So, for example, there is a P&L report, okay, and same example, I am a finance manager for one company, and Bhupender ji is group CFO. When I open the same report, same P&L report, I will see P&L consolidated financials for the entire group. Report is same, data is same, it behaves differently based on the authorization one has. The reports can be customized, and collaboration we spoke, like through system itself, we can share the information, we can have approval mechanism through system, we can have comments in the through system and so on. Okay, this is how the challenges can be solved through technology. Some bit of like inside how the look and feel, how does it look like? So I talked about collaboration, right? This screen, it shows like what is the progress of reporting, like whether it is 3 out of 4 steps are completed, you can see here, or 0 out of 23 steps are completed. What is that? Where does it stand? Okay. Then like we can maintain the entire chart of account through system, and that's how the reporting is driven. The thing which I mentioned about maintaining organization hierarchy, it can be maintained in this tree-like structure which you see at the left. So as and when a new entity is added or deleted, you just need to add this to that particular entity to the structure. And this is how rule-based logic can be defined in the system. You see, it doesn't require much of programming. You just tell the system, like the first screenshot here talks about balance carry forward. So you tell the system, when you carry forward a balance from balance sheet accounts, it will go to this destination account. For P&L accounts, it will go to, all P&L accounts go to retained earning account. So those rules we can define, and then system will just follow the rules. Like at the bottom half of the screen, you see eliminations rule. You tell the system, this is one set of account codes are for, let's say, sales. Another set of account codes are for purchase. Then system will read those account codes and eliminate. And if there is any difference, it will be posted to elimination difference accounts. So the purpose of showing you this is that, number one, this is how system works. Number two, it doesn't require a great knowledge of programming. In fact, it doesn't require any knowledge of programming. It just requires a common knowledge of finance, accounting, how does it work. You just parameterize the system, and then system does it for you. For that itself, you get a lot of appreciation from the client. They are very happy when you are able to automate their reporting. Another like example of audit trail, like I said. So input is shown differently, and what happens during adjustments are shown differently. So that this is something which can be audited. When you design a system, it is something that it gives you audit trail, and it can be audited because the input will match with your ERP system, and the adjustments will match with the logic which you have built or a journal which you have posted. Correct? So there is an audit trail. So that was, I mean, I know it was a bit fast because, but there are also time constraints, and we can have another session if people are interested into deep diving of any of these areas. In short, what do we do as a company? And that's where we are also collaborating with Kalani and affiliates. So what we do as a consultant, we first step is to understand what the requirement is. Then we suggest right kind of software to the client. Once that is done, we configure it, and finally we test and deploy it. So as a consultant, we are involved in all these 4 steps in deploying technology in finance function. This is like again related to what we previously talked about, the evolution of finance function. So I don't want to talk again. It's an open forum now. I think any questions are welcome. Please bear in mind, no question is bad. Anything which in your mind you can ask, or you want to discuss, or you want to correct me, you are more than welcome.
So, CG, thank you for the elaborate discussion which you had. Any participants from particularly those who have appeared in the final exams? Ritik, are you there?
Ritik is not in the office. Not sure if he joined from the hostel.
Ritik, who has recently given his exams. Aksar, yeah, anyone from JKT Brikes? So I would rather request Abhinav to please share your thoughts on the FPA and consolidation.
Yeah. So Abhinav is, I mean, he is about 3 years after he did CA, and he is with us for more than a year. So I think Abhinav can also share his experience in this field and what's his perspective about it. Over to you, Abhinav.
Hello, people. Hello, people in the house. More than 60 people were there. I was guessing. It's such a huge audience on a Saturday. So, first of all, I'm more than privileged to have a chance to speak with you. I will share. I'm a very simple person, and I will share in a very simple language what is my personal experience in FP&A and consolidation new softwares when I saw these things exist in the market apart from Tally. So, first of all, in Tally, and as a IPCC person and a fresher CA who is a passed out, doesn't know much about ERP, have exposure to ERP, doesn't know much about profit centers, cost centers, profit items, and transaction types, flows, and obviously consolidation. So these things are totally new for me, frankly. So even the functional knowledge was but looking at these tools, looking at I always used to wonder what a person would think. Why would he take tools? Why would he make a hierarchy? Why would he add a property? Why would he add a dimension model? What is a model? Why are these bigger words used? So later on, over the period when I talked to seniors, when I researched somehow somewhere, so I got to know that it is pretty much a common sense. And it is a big VLOOKUP in a system. We do a small VLOOKUP in Excel. VPC does a big VLOOKUP in a system. And we just have to direct VPC that go there, pick up the data, multiply it by a certain percentage, post the data in certain account, pick up data from certain flow, pick up post at certain accounts. So more or less this thing exists. Obviously the names are new, conventions are new, screens are new, reports are new. So those things like these are complex things. First of all, when we talk about automation, certain people think that it is about coding, certain think it is about programming, knowing some language, Java, C, C++. So that is not there. So a functional person like you and me can understand EPC or SSC or any such software with a reasonable inquisitiveness and a reasonable, reasonable IQ. Just go through a manual. You can try, you can test over the system and get it done. That was the first experience in certain months when I joined. Later on, I was exposed to clients. Then, when I was exposed to client, I came to know new requirements. I came to know what are the practices followed by. I came to know new transaction types. If you remember in 11th standard, 12th standard CPT, IBC, our first step was to understand the nature of the transaction. And here we were finding totally new transactions. At least a person like me, who might be exposed to, you are lucky enough to good exposure of consolidation in your articles. I was not having that much, but yes, I have become lucky person to have a good experience in consolidation also, in planning also. And when you are at a level where you are not consolidating, you are at a level when you are automating the consolidation in the planning. So that is a one level up. I would like to. That is a key aspect. It's not about consolidation. It's not about. It is about automating things. So if simply I would like to articulate, it is you are accomplishing one level in an industry already, and then you are automating that level. So you are here. You are already promoted. So that gives you a thrill. That gives you a power to work. That motivates you. Like लोग अभी जाके कंसोलिडेट कर रहे हैं, हम कंसोलिडेट ऑटोमेट कर रहे हैं. लोग जाके प्लानिंग कर रहे हैं, हम प्लानिंग ऑटोमेट कर रहे हैं. So that gives you certain a positive vibe to work in an industry, to work for an organization. And personally speaking, like this is a personal note. So I did enjoy very much as a statutory auditor or an internal auditor because nobody used to smile looking at my face because I was an auditor. So uh, then uh, then I decided कि ऐसा क्या करे जो बिजनेस को वैल्यू ऐड कर जाए, बहुत अच्छी यूजर खुश हो जाना चाहिए. So then I saw this work. Even before joining this work, I saw the exact working. I asked my senior कि आप exactly क्या करते हो बताइए. Exact बताइए, बहुत exact करके बताइए. So then my seniors showed me that this is what we configure, and it is not a rocket science. Even if the things go fail, you can try it again. That is what you are doing. You are building it. That was my experience. I think it was a very nice experience. It was a very big exposure. Like I would never imagine to work for such a big clients, because see, if you just imagine a person who is consolidating itself is a bigger person. He's a very big client. He's consolidating, yeah. And now he is having enough fund so that he can automate the consolidation process. That means he is a bigger than a bigger client. So if you are getting chance just to look at his financial, that chance itself is a very rich exposure. That is what I believe. So that was my personal experience over it. Now I'm looking forward. See, since I have done in SAP BPC, certain experience I have gained, certain projects are going on. Thankfully, they will be accomplished in a good way. And then now I'm inquisitive about something that is known as SSC, which you have just seen. It is a new thing. It's a new tool. So a client which is really wants a value add in this business will go for SAC. So now we are getting more and more inquisitive about, now let us learn SSC also. Let us learn ANA plan also. That inquisitiveness is important. That is what I get from over here, from this place where I'm sitting over here. I've been more than lucky enough to have such a person to be in such a company. Now, I would just like to ask some of the articles. Articles means, yeah, obviously, CS and articles present over there. Are you little bit inquisitive about technology? how does automation feels you? Like, just give me a random answer. होना चाहिए नहीं होना चाहिए कितना fast होना चाहिए? Because I have seen things working at a click of a button, but in finance field it is yet to come. We are we exist, and for opportunity for us exist. That means जो लेवल का ऑटोमेशन होना चाहिए था अब तक अभी भी बचा हुआ है. वी आर लिटिल बिट बिहाइंड. फाइनेंस पर्सन्स आर लिटिल बिट बिहाइंड टेक्नोलॉजी. आई फील सो पर्सनली. बिकॉज अभी भी हम लोग एक्सेल पे ही करते हैं. अभी भी निकालते तो है एक्सेल. मैनुअल इंटरवेंशन तो है ही. So do you feel like people, come on?
Yeah, I think Arushi wants to speak something.
Yes, Arushi, you're welcome.
I agree with this that we are far behind.
We are far behind. So Arushi, like
It's not having good exposure.
Imran, Abdul, sorry.
so who is going to make us ahead then? So we need to come ahead, right?
Yeah.
We need to come ahead badly. We need to automate the things, automate the redundant things, and that too at a fast pace. We do not have too much time. We do not have 2 or 3 years for a single project. We have to execute it. We have to deliver it in 6 months. Correct. User should be happy. User should be. User should ask you. User should praise you. कि यार अच्छा कर दिया यार मजा आ गया. Don't you think so? I feel so personally.
सब लोग मुंडे हिला रहे हैं भाई.
Okay, I'm happy. I'm very happy because see everybody wants it. So वो होता है ना कि startup क्या होता है? What is a startup? जो requirement है ना, जो बहुत core requirement है, जिससे आप frustrate हो रहे हो, बस उसी का solution एक startup होता है. अगर आप मंथ एंड से फ्रस्ट्रेशन हो तो उसके लिए कुछ स्टार्टअप होगा जरूर. और आई थिंक अब तो है भी आपके सामने कई काफी सारे हो गए. अगर आप ईयर एंड से फ्रस्ट्रेट हो रहे हो उसका कुछ स्टार्टअप होगा जरूर. सी एनाप्लान इज वन ऑफ अ सॉफ्टवेयर व्हिच इज डूइंग सच थिंग. इट केम वेरी फास्ट. उसका वैल्यूएशन बहुत जल्दी और बहुत जोर से बढ़ा है. Now we also, it's our time to lead in some or the other. I'm not telling that you should reinvent a software, but at least if there are not persons, then it is kind of a high demand and low supply, and you know what to do with high demand and low supply. So that is what the opportunities in the market. Apart from taxation, and those are, yes, taxation will exist, audit will exist. Obviously, that is a very good. That is what is core job of a chartered accountant. That is what we are known for. Our signature have a value, much value. But a person, that's what I ask. A person or article that right.
Abhinav, I have one observation here.
Yes.
You have rightly said that taxation and audits will exist, but if you do not know this particular aspect,
Yes.
FP&A and the auditors also do not know about this, so probably in his audit also there will be a lot of challenges.
Yes.
Because,
Sure.
see, there are millions of transactions which are happening over here, and if the auditor as a if he goes and verify the transactions over there, and he do not know that how things are actually processed in the system, probably it will be a great challenge for the auditors also.
Yes, I can sure. I'm imagining. See, I'm imagining. I am 3 years back. I don't know anything about ERP. I don't know anything about BPC. And my firm got a very big audit where they have implemented BPC. And now how I am going to audit, God knows. So I'm going to ask foolish questions to them, and they are going to tell that auditor does not have adequate knowledge to audit, and they are going to fire me out. I'm very much ready for getting fired. So that thing also exists, that certain common sense of a technology we should be having. A certain, like how a system talks, not programming. We're not talking about binary numbers 101 or a language. Just how system talks, how different system talks. That is what we are expecting from a new FP&A professionals or a new chartered accountants. So I would like to enlighten about this aspect that you should be slightly inquisitive about knowing these things. These are new things coming. Okay. So thank you for your Saturday, guys.
Yeah.
So you have any questions you can ask.
Abhinav, thanks for your Saturday, because here everyone comes on Saturday. There is no leave for them. They have to actually attend the class. Yeah. Uh, so, anyone else? Any participants? Jatin Agarwal, would you like to tell something about the today's class? Jatin, please unmute your mic. Jatin Agarwal.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir, for giving me an opportunity. Sir, I would like to speak that automation is not basically needed in the finance only. It is also needed in auditing field. Just like for the general requirements, local requirements of TDS, GST, we see these things in all the audits, basically in all the clients. TDS verification is done in case of all the audits. There could be softwares, because the audit of these things are basically in a set process, that we need to check the basically dates, and then if we are filing the TDS returns of the clients, then we need to put up the data from the systems, and then we have to match it with the challans. So basically, these processes can also be automated. It will save time, and as far as the technology is concerned, all the processes which are in a set process, they can be automated. They may be in the field of finance, audit, or any other field. So it will save the time, and also it will lead our time to the analysis portion also. So when we are more comfortable with the normal audits and other process, normal audits and other fulfilling requirements, so then we will process further, and we will satisfy our clients further also. And today I basically learned about the financial plannings and how the SAPs works and different modules in SAPs. I have worked on SAP. In a time phase, I've seen that the SAP itself does its various functions. Like from the sales order, it processes the order, and then in the packing section, it parks the truck in the particular lane. It directs the gate that in which lane the truck should be parked in, and then automatically the bags the bags are packed and automatically they are loaded in the trucks. So basically, SAPs are linked in all these processes. Then the invoice and e-bills are automatically generated through SAPs. So I was so much surprised that all these processes are integrated. That once your sales order is processed, then ultimate billing and e-bills, everything has happened with the SAPs. So these technologies play a vital role in a business, and so basically why this is the basic reason that the clients are paying to these ERPs. They are paying them in approx 2 lakhs per annum, so more than that. Basically depends on size of the organization, and they follow the compliances. We all know that the cost of compliance is low, but the cost of non-compliance is very high. So basically, these ERP systems follow these compliance part also, and that is a very big part and a future opportunity for all of us. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, indeed, very good, input. So compliance itself is a very big area, and trust me, any function or any activity in finance we talk, there are like hundreds of softwares available. So people have identified these needs like TDS, GST, or salaries, or anything we name it. There are softwares available. Yes, and without technology, in fact, we can't even function anymore. And one point which, like Bhupendraji also touched upon, is how auditors, like why auditors specifically need it. VPC implementation. Hello. That client. Hello. Is it better now?
Yeah, we are hearing you.
Okay.
Yeah, we are hearing you.
So the reason the client went for implementation of consolidation software is that auditor said that I am not going to approve or audit your results unless you are on a software. Why? Because for 1 quarter the results were published wrong, and then they had to be published again, and it was something to do with Excel. So auditors will more and more need to understand how these softwares work so that they are more confident when they are signing off, because end of the day the signature, as Abhinav mentioned, carries a lot of value, and to be confident that yes, things look good, there's no error or there's no intentional error, they will have to get some understanding about how things work. That's all.
Yeah, Shashikant ji, I think we can now conclude. So before concluding, I would rather आपकी तरफ से जो प्राइज है वो मैं दूंगा यहाँ पे. Varun is there, so please.
Let's give
So
give a big hand to